Hello there everybody, Sabara92 aka Nightmare, and once again, welcome back to DS Irae Interview with Kaziklu Bey. I am officially back home from my little vacation, and I am certainly most ready to actually get back into doing what I love to do, and that is entertaining, and just enjoying these little stories that I get to go through. But before I actually begin, there's a bit of fan art that I wanted to show off. I should have shown it off whenever it was received immediately, but I will apologize, and I shall do that now. So, I got some interesting fan art from Shermanator of the Discord, who made me look like a bit of a interesting sort of. I kind of look like a bit of a mafia boss, or I look like I just got pulled directly out of Rose Guns days. I kind of like how it looks. And I like how it's sort of based off of the outfit choice that I've got on my current Pokemon Shield character right now. I like how it looks. Also, I guess this could possibly be referencing a possible future series on the channel that might involve the Yakuza, maybe, possibly. Well, we'll just have to wait and see about that. So, last episode, we got to witness the gloriousness of Ludwig and his abilities. And we got to see Bey acting, well, being Bey. Not really caring about the circumstances of who he was doing it in front of. So, that was a thing. And interestingly enough, we got to see a little bit of Claudia sort of making a pseudo deal with Bey to try to make him fall for her. That's interesting. It's very, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be, I'm kind of at a loss, really. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to the end of this, because it's a foregone conclusion. But I really do just want to see what this story has planned for Bey in the first place. Someone started calling my name. The voice drew my consciousness out of the rose garden.
Bey, 聞いていますか？何をぼーっとしてるんです。
Oh, are we back in the castle? Looks like it.
うるせえな。耳元でギャンギャンわめくなよ、腐らちび。
Oh, I'm sure she's not that short.
てめえみたいなアホと違って俺にはいろいろとあるんだよ。
なんですって？どの口がそんなことを言うんですか？
Before Beatrice could get in my face, Babylon stopped her.
二人ともそれくらいにしておきなさい。じゃれていい場所じゃないわよ。ルートビヒ、そういうことだからあなたも気をつけてちょうだいね。ここからはあまり私たちの心臓を鍛えないでくれるとありがたい。
And that's right, we have to bring Ludwig to Heydrich to see what he's planning on doing.
何もへつらいと言ってるわけではないけれど。
Oh, one more thing concerning a bit of a scene that I was having a little bit of trouble dealing with, or I was having a bit of trouble trying to figure out, like, its placement. There was a bit of a sort of, I want to say it was a flashback involving Mercurius talking to someone. And, it was, again, it's one of those things where I'm just kind of wondering, like, I'm wondering who this individual, god dang it, I already forgot his name! He was talking to Mercurius, but I'm wondering what his role in this is going to be. Kept on asking, who am I? And Mercurius is like, oh, I know who you are. And it just, okay, cool.
まあ、君らの立場を考えた上で善処しよう。
The man's not my business attitude made me click my tongue, while Beatrice acted troubled and Babylon heaved a sigh.
じゃあ行きましょうか。
All right. We ignored our sentiments as the door before us opened up. We'd returned from Katyn and it was time to report to our lord what had happened. What's up, dude?
なるほど。それが顛末か。 ご苦労、バビロン、バルキュリア、そしてベイ。皆大事ないようで何よりだ。今はおのおの旅の疲れを癒すがいい。
ありがたきお言葉、強烈にございます。
We kneeled before Lord Hydric, told him all about what happened, and received his gratitude. Around us, I saw Malleus, Samuel, Spine, Machina. All of us, actually. Well, to be precise, Kristoff still wasn't here, but the state of the castle was about the same as it was before we left for Katyn.
とはいえ、K には不満がありそうだが、ベイ。率直に物足りないところでもあったかな。
ええ、それまあ実際はいまいち締まらねえ話だったわけ。すっきりってわけにはいかないですね。
I wasn't enough of an idiot to act all triumphant despite having nothing to show off. That's why I answered honestly. Sure, I liked receiving praise from Lord Hydric, but I wasn't able to feel all that much joy in that particular case.
釈然としねえし、どうにも罰が悪いですね。わかりやすいオチがついたわけじゃないもんで。
ならば K は価値において何も得るものがなかった
いや、別にそういうわけじゃ。
I made some sort of progress with Claudia, but it was a personal matter that had nothing to do with the mission. I couldn't really report something like that, so I was at a loss on what to say next. Suddenly, Lord Hydric began chuckling.
と。よいよい。K に恐縮は似合わんぞ注意。そもそも戦果ならば十分に持ち帰っている。なあ、ルートビヒと言ったかな。
At that moment, we were all overwhelmed by a shared tension. Everyone present felt that Lord Hydric's voice had a quality to it that normally wasn't there. It felt like joy and curiosity, but he was just so immense of an entity that it was hard to tell. To a normal person, a single chuckle from this man was equal to a tsunami or an avalanche. Some could even lose their very selves in it. His Majesty would not be matched by hundreds of beasts. Because of that, I expected the man to panic or be dumbfounded. But
いかにも私はルートビヒ・バン・ローゼンクランツ、そしてお前がラインハルト・ハイドリヒだ。
てめえ
Samuel Schreiber and I all slightly rose up, ready to kill him right then and there. The lack of respect in his tone made our blood boil. His impudence was so great that just about everyone in the room looked at him like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The only exceptions were Mercurius, Lord Hydric, and Ludwig himself. The man looked around with a vexed expression and chuckled maliciously.
ガン首揃えていちいち色めき立つなよ、鬱陶しい。私は彼の部下ではない。国軍を預かる大将閣下にならば礼を払うのもやぶさかではないが、とうにその立場を捨てているのだろう。公的には死んだとされている御人のはずだ。故に彼も彼に従うお前たちも今は単なる一個人とその紙幣に過ぎ、ならばこの辺りの扱いが妥当であろう。
Yeah, just go ahead and keep talking. I can already feel Samuel's flames getting hotter and hotter. She's gonna burn you to a crisp, boy.
その通り。
We were on the verge of unleashing hell upon him, but Lord Hydric stopped us.
彼の言い分は何も間違っていないものだ。今の私はただの個人で、故に部下でもない者から敬われる筋もない。彼と私は対等だ。話を続けたい。ヘイラは控えよ。
Of course we had no choice but to listen. Still, I groaned as I kneeled again. We more or less had learned what Ludwig was like back in Katyn. That was exactly why Babylon had told him to tone it down, and I seriously didn't expect him to keep it up in this situation. Lord Hydric was such a huge entity to me that I thought no one could act tough before him. But apparently I was wrong. I'd felt that this was my mistake. As I gritted my teeth in shame, Ludwig talked again, still half courteous, half rude.
で、私は何を話せばよいのかな。家賃におけることの次第は、先にそちらも聞いたとおり。私がここにいるのは、彼らの顔を最低限立てようと思ったからに過ぎない。
Damn it, for real, I really like this character design. Specifically the clothes and all that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that it's got like a shredded sort of pseudo cape or something like that, but there's just something about this clothing design that I just really like.
ドイツとバチカン、同盟関係の筋として、私の身元が確かなものと判明するまでは付き合うべきだと考えたのだが、さて、実際は正規の作戦行動でもなく、一個人の紙幣運用に過ぎぬと分かった以上、ここに拘束される覚えはないな。
Also, if I can... I realize this might sound a little bit rude, but your lips look a little parched. I might recommend you get some water in your system.
確かに。では早々に帰りたいと？
いつ帰るか、どのようにして帰るか、そもそも帰るか帰らぬか、そこを決めるのは私の自由ということだ。
Kは教皇庁に報告せねばならぬ義務がある。
それをそちらに強いられる言われはないと言っている。
From the way you're acting, it's more or less like you may be aligned with the Vatican, but you're more or less an independent agent, or a kind of a freelance agent.
なるほどね。
Lord Hydra gave a composed nod, making Samiel, who's to my side, walk out in front. She too was furious over Ludwig's attitude, but was able to hold back her anger so well that it didn't even show.
K のことは3日前に電報を受けていた。よって身元の調査はもう終わっているよ。そうだな、ザミエル。
は、ルートヴィヒ・バン・ローゼンクラッツなる人物は教皇庁の一員として確かに存在しています。もっとも席を置いているのは裏側の部署になります。
つまり公的にいないものとして扱われているのはお互い様というわけだ。故にこのまま雲隠れすれば薄暗い世界から抜け出せるやもしれない。
Okay, so if he works behind the scenes, in that case, he's kind of like a sort of a Black Ops unit of the Vatican, or not Black Ops, Secret Service? No. You guys get what I mean. He's. I'm sorry.
こちらとしても K の古巣に報告せねばならぬ義理はないのでな。自由でありたいなら好きにすればよかろう。言ったように拘束はしない。だが K はどのみちここを離れるつもりなどないのだろう。
ほう、なぜそう思う？
Ludwig squinted his eyes in an intrigued manner as Lord Hydric quickly gave him an answer.
K は最初から気づいていたはずだ。先の同盟云々、筋目云々は建前だろう。我々が正規の部隊でないと知りつつ、律儀にもついてきたのは K がそうしたかったからだ。
Methuselah. I think that was the name. Methuselah? No. Damn it. Methuselah. Okay, I give up.
その目的までは知らんがね。とはいえ、望んでここにあるなら、多少の融通は聞かせてくれんか。
どのような？
The man didn't deny Lord Hydric's words, which basically meant that he acknowledged them. I'd had no doubts about that to begin with. After all, he'd known what we were the very moment we encountered him.
メルクリーズか。
I looked at the magician who was at the edge of my vision and muttered his name. Ludwig knew Mercury, so of course the reverse is also true. The fact that Lord Hydric saw through his facade probably had something to do with that.
ない。大したことでもない。K の目から見て、家賃の怪異はどうであったかを聞かせてほしい。
部下の報告では満足できんということか。
別にそんなことは言っていない。ただ、一人だけ何も話さんというのは不公平だろ。私の部下に嫌々ながら連行されたというならともかく、そうでないなら構わんはずだ。要は愛想の問題だよ。私は K を歓迎している。故に客人と語らいたいと思うのだが、これは罪深いのかね、ルートビヒ。願わくば友好的でありたいものだよ。
The request of the mighty gold made the man momentarily close his eyes.
了解した。理屈は確かにその通りだ。
Ludwig gave in, shrugged, and lightly nodded. The nerve to show such an attitude to Lord Hydric still pissed me off. It just didn't seem sane to me. Regardless, he proceeded to tell us how he perceived the mysterious anomaly at Katim.
家賃の虐殺自体については、お前たちの方が詳しいだろうから省かせてもらう。要はあの地に大量の血がばらまかれ、それに相応した屍の山が築かれていたということだ。結果、眠っていた古い神秘の目を覚ますことになる。流れた血河は大地に染み込み、それの真珠へ到達したのだ。結ばれた下と上のつながりは、以降月が満ちる夜に雨が降ることで駆動するようになったのだろう。家賃の犠牲者たちは動く死者となり、新たな死者を求めてさまよい歩く。そうした術式に組み込まれたのだ。
ここまではバビロンたちと全く同じ見解だな。ではルートビヒ、K はその術式とやらをどう捉える？ありていに何が目的だったと思うの？
I mean, simple answer is just to gather an army, but there has to be something more to it.
単なる栄養補給だろう。
Nourishment?
つまり家賃の怪異とは吸血鬼だ。
Oh! Ludwig spoke his conclusion as if it were absolute.
ほう、吸血鬼。
Ah, and I see, so you could also consider those undead to be kind of thralls. Lord Hydric and the rest began looking at me. It felt weird, but I had nothing to say about it. After all, the anomaly was indeed much like a vampire from legend.
K は吸血鬼の存在を信じているのか？
空想上の怪物的なという意味ならいいな。巨大なコウモリの化け物だの、神を呪って罰せられた騎士だのと、おめでたいロマンを口にするつもりは毛頭ない。
Knights punished for cursing God? Now that's an interesting take on that. I'm more affiliated, or not affiliated, no god no. I'm more knowledgeable about the fantastical like bat monsters or stuff like that. The whole knights punished for cursing God, that's an interesting twist that I've not heard of.
だがそうした概念がある以上、真似るものは出るのだよ。血を吸って死者を刺激し、ネズミ山式に膨れ上がりながら飽食するというような、それはもう吸血鬼としか言えんだよ。とかくこの世にはそういった二次的に発生するもどきが多い。
He chuckled. Ludwig's words were definitely directed at me.
控えろベイ。言ったはずだぞ。私は彼と話がしたい。
Fine.
己と相入れぬ意見こそむしろ傾聴するべきだ。それに K がもどきなら私もまたそうであろうよ。
See, now I can kind of see where, like, Bey can kind of, where he gets, like, some of his respect in this, just this one thing. If you are an imitation, then so am I. There's that charisma that Hydrix seems to exude with his subordinates. Even if he is basically using them, he puts himself down on the same level as his subordinates, thus resulting in a much stronger, like, loyalty being directed toward him, if that makes any sense.
血と魂の違いはあるがね。彼の理屈にのっとればこの身も吸血鬼めいているのは否定できん。
Lightly shaking his shoulders, Lord Hydric chuckled. I had no idea how well Ludwig knew us, but it was clear that nothing about us was fazing him.
それで続きを聞きたいな。家賃の吸血鬼はなぜ忽然と消えたのか。目的は栄養補給だと K は言った。であれば最終的に復活を目指していたはずだろう。しかしそれは果たされなかった。地下の原質には塵と化していくムクロがあったと。そうだな、バビロン、バルキュリア。
はい、この目で確認しました。
私たちは特に何をしたというわけでもなかったのですが。
そう、故に奇妙だ。ベイに言わせれば分かりにくいオチとなっている。そこについて K は一体どう思うの？
Wait, are you asking me or are you asking Ludwig? At this point, I don't even know. As everyone looked at him, Ludwig lightly hung his head and sighed.
私も知らん。だが強いて何か言えというなら仮説らしきものは立てられる。
He raised his face and looked at Mercurius, who was wearing a thin smile. They seemed to have a moment of eye contact, but then Ludwig looked back at Lord Hydric.
光でも見たのではないか。古来吸血鬼を払うものといえばそれだろう。私でもお前の部下でもなく、あの時あの場には光が存在したということだ。
Claudia?
じゃあつまり
クラウディアだって言いてえのか。
My voice was hoarse. I just couldn't believe what he implied. Claudia was an ordinary person. No miracle could have granted her the power to rend magical darkness. I howled at him to stop spouting bullshit, but the shithead just shook his head, looking annoyed as hell. I felt like there was even a bit of pity in his eyes.
お前に彼女の何がわかるつもりなの？光の何たるかもわからんお前ごときが。
You know, that is a possibility, like, her light, her person, her... just Claudia in general might have that ability.
所詮単なる対義語でしかないのだろう。ああ、だから永遠に明けない闇を望んでいるの。浅い男だ。
Kind of ironic, considering, like, the light burning her, but she exudes a much greater light, if that's the case. Oh, fuck. That was when I snapped. I exploded like gunpowder and stood up, but there was another explosion at the same time. One of laughter. Schreiber? Nope, Mercurius. Oh, there's a familiar song. Its source was Mercurius. With his arms on his stomach, he twisted his body and laughed as if maddened. The sight filled me with an indefinable repugnance and sent chills down my spine. I was sure I wasn't the only one who felt that way. We all stared at the mercurial magician in absolute silence. Not even Ludwig and Lord Hydric were an exception to that. After a needlessly long bout of laughter, Mercurius began talking.
結構清らかな乙女の祈りが闇を払うと、
そちらこそ実にロマンあふれることで素晴らしいよ。喝采しよう。存外と真理はそういうものであろうしな。私も賛成するにためらいはない。男なら誰しも女神に抱かれて眠りたいと願う。
Oh God, we're curious! Ah! He resumed laughing. The sound echoed throughout the hall. Despite the loudness, there was no excitement in it, making it feel heavy enough to stick to it and burden the very soul. The density and depth of the emotions hidden within him were abnormal, causing my computer to go into overdrive. It won't fucking stop screaming. I had no idea what incurred that reaction, but he was actually showing a hint of his true self. For all I knew, this might have had something to do with his craving. I was barely able to bear just thinking about it. The moment I was on the verge of puking my guts out, Lord Hydric ended it all. He lightly waved his hand in a slightly exasperated manner, restoring the mood to what it was before the laughter. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief as if they'd momentarily forgotten how to breathe.
Oh yeah, definitely. We want to avoid incidents like, oh, I don't know, causing foreknowledge to go absolutely bonkers and crazy, causing, well, issues for everybody.
確かにね。K に言われては片なしだが、私としても興味深い点はあったよ。
He nodded, looked us all over, and began concluding the gathering.
ご苦労。大義であった。ケイラは下がって休むがよい。
Thank you.
来たるべき時に向け、今はおのおの待つのが戦だと心得よ。
Naturally. There was nothing to argue against here. We all nodded, regained control of our emotion, and followed his orders. The conclusion felt a bit forced, but anyway, that was the end of our meeting. With this, the case of the anomaly at Kachin was settled. Personally, I wasn't sure if I could believe that, but perhaps I just didn't want to. Things weren't as clear as I preferred them to be, so I couldn't feel like I was released of it just yet.
お前は何も変わらんのだ。推義によ。
As I was leaving, I saw Ludwig, who was still in the hall, talking to Mercurius.
そちらはそちらで随分と変わった。
Son of a bitch!
メトシェラ
You are Methuselah. You were the guy. Oh. Really? I should have realized that. The man didn't hesitate to reply. Lord Hydric, however, merely looked down on the two freaks with a golden smile on his visage. Of course. Ugh.
ああ、なんか胃の痛くなる回だったわね。あんた妙なのを連れてくんじゃないわよ。
同感ですね。ただでさえ細い私の神経をすり減らすような真似はやめていただきたいものですよ。注意。
You think it's my fault?
うるせえな、俺に文句言ってんじゃねえよ。こっちこそいい迷惑だ。
On our way back, we walked through the long hallway leading to the castle's gate. There was no meaning of reason behind the group we had. I wanted to be alone as soon as possible, but those idiots somehow felt the need to tag along with me. Though that being said, it wasn't like I didn't understand the point of what they were saying.
正直、後が怖いですね。嫌な予感しかしてきませんよ。 ハイドリヒ教にあれだけの口を叩く者が存在するとは。ザミエル教はともかくとして、シュライバー教は何をするかわからない。
そしてあなたもね、レイ。いつもご来場がないんだから。こっちはつまらないいざこざに巻き込まれちゃたまんないっての。
ええ、全くマレウスの言う通り。こうなればいっそのこと、ハイドリヒ教ご自身が中されるか、さもなくば早々に帰ってほしいところです。一体何を思って針のむしろに居座りたがるのかは知りませんがね。単にど外れて強胆な御人なのか。
Ah, it's clearly because of his weird connection with Mercurius. If anything, I'd call him insane. Just remembering him irritated me.
あいつを調べたのはお前がシュピーナ。
そうですが、何か気になるところでも。彼の身元は確かに裏が取れています。生年月日から家族の有無、学歴はもちろん、これまで従事したバチカンの闇仕事に至るまで。
So on top of managing the finances, you are also actually really good at gathering information. Spine OP.
ご希望ならばここで開陳しても構いませんが。
いや、細かいことはどうでもいい。ただお前の印象を教えてく
れ。ならば端的にまとめましょうか。
Spine scratched his chin.
率直に申し上げれば極めて優秀な方ですね。そのまま表街道を進んでいれば枢機卿でも目指していたのかもしれませんが、そこは時代というやつでしょう。力ある者に求められるのは武器を取る道だった。
へえ、だったらそれがあいつにとって人生初の挫折だったわけかしら。
どうでしょうね。教会には戦場の英雄めいた聖人もいますから、何も法衣をまとって強化を促すだけが信仰ではない。もとよりローマは戦いの宗教だ。よって上辺の綺麗事に身を置くよりはそちらの方が本当であると思っていたように見受けられますよ。経歴から推察する限りはね。いやいやと腐りながらやっていたとは到底思えぬ活躍ぶりで、むしろ情熱を感じましたよ。ゆえにどうも噛み合わない。あれが果たして信仰に燃える情熱家の姿なのかと。あの霊障然とした遠征ぶりには一種虚無的なものすら感じます。
Spine was definitely right about that. Not to mention that someone who'd sworn an oath to the church would want to return as quickly as possible.
とはいえ、人の心は難しい。マレウスの言に倣うなら、家賃の一件は彼にとって初の挫折だったと言えなくもない。同胞を全て失ったわけですからね。傷つき、捨て鉢となっているだけなのかもしれません。そう考えれば、ハイドリヒ教に物おじしなかったことの理屈も立つ。言ってしまえば死人ですから。
True.
どうとでもなっちゃえって気分みたいな。ま、そんな風に見えないこともなかったわね。
Yeah, I mean, he's enigmatic to an extent. He's very enigmatic, but he doesn't strike me as completely nihilistic. You know what I mean?
とにかくそれがお前の考えってわけだ。
I could agree with some of his points, but not overall. His character just seemed more vague than before, honestly. In that case, I figured it was better to make it simpler and changed my approach.
マレウス、お前から見てあいつはどうだ？つまり魔術師の目って意味だな。
Was he strong, weak, and could he stand against us? I've been curious about that for a while. He definitely wasn't normal. He'd even caught me off guard in Kachin. However, for whatever reason, I couldn't quite gauge his power. I could probably be solved by just attacking him, and that was what I would have usually done, but with him, I was just stuck searching for the right timing. My frustration probably showed on my face since Malleus' reply with a line clearly meant to calm me down.
あなたの方が強いわよ。だってあいつあまり色がわからないし。
というと
つまりね、生命力みたいなものの話よ。生き物なら当然みんな持ってるし、街や自然の中にもある。近頃じゃオーラなんて言うのかしら。あんたたちだってなんとなくなら感じるでしょ。こいつはヤバいとか、この場所は気持ち悪いとか、逆に自分と合ってるとか。それの感じ方は人それぞれなんだけど、私に限って言えば色なのよね。目に見えるから濃淡とか勢いとかそういうので判断してる。
Huh. Interesting.
そりゃ初耳だ。
I did see what she meant though. However, while she used color, for me it was smell and taste. I tend to judge people and just about everything else by whether they seemed appetizing.
興味深いですね。ちなみに私は何色なのですか？
I'm gonna go for a ballpark figure. Either gray or yellow.
シュピーネはあまり一貫してないわね。紫っぽいグラデーションで体調や気分次第の振り幅がある感じ。でもそれって割と一般的よ。
Oh, nice. You got one of my favorite colors, dude.
ただ普通の人は橙とか黄色とかもっと暖かい系なんだけど、つまりあんたは基本的にまとも人だけど嫌なやつ。
She pointed her finger at him looking all self-important.
はあ、まあ否定はできないところですね。しかしその口ぶりだと色味の変化が乏しい方は異常者ということになりませんか？
ざっくり言えばそうなんだけど、あんたらこれ吹聴するんじゃないわよ。陰口言ってるみたいで面倒くさくなりそうだから。
わかったわかった。で
身近なところにいる完全な単一色ならマキナとザミエルとシュライバーね。これは言わなくてもわかるでしょう。真っ黒と真っ赤と真っ白系。
Oh yeah, Nigredo, Rubedo, and Albedo.
しかもゴーゴーとかビュービューとかそんな感じの擬音がつきそうな色使い。あいつら頭おかしいわよ。
You got that right. For someone concerned about talking behind people's backs, she sure wasn't keeping her mouth under control.
バルキュリアは緑っぽくて、バビロンは紺とか群青。それからベイも赤っぽいわね。
Navy blue? Yeah, I can see that.
だけどあんたの赤はザミエルと違って黒も混ざってる感じ。向こうが火ならさしずめ血の色。
Now that sounds about right.
じゃあお前は
ピンクだよ。
Okay, that was definitely bullshit. Bullshpina and I knew it, but didn't care enough to push it.
そんな感じで私はみんなを見てるんだけど、例のルートビヒについて言うなら、
That was what I actually cared about. She said it was pretty hard to tell his color, but now she dropped the details.
灰色なのよね。霧っぽいっていうか闇っぽいっていうか。
So his color is kind of foggy, very much mysterious in a way.
闇なら黒だろ。
それは一概に言えないでしょ。闇の本質は見えないことなんだから。極端な話、眩しすぎて視界が効かない状態は光の闇と言えるんじゃないかしら。
Huh. Actually never thought of it that way.
そう言われればおっしゃる通り。
That seemed like sophism to me, but I can understand Malleus's take on Ludwig. To her, he was a man like the darkness.
そんなわけで全体的によくわからない。霧の向こうにもっと濃い色がある可能性もなくはないけど、強さみたいなものは感じないのよ。危ない雰囲気も特にないし。だからシュピーネも言ったようにやる気がなくなっちゃってるだけかもしれない。そう考えれば灰色っていかにもそれっぽいでしょ。軟弱というか無気力というかさ。
煙に巻くという表現もありますがね。
Indeed, that's what I'm thinking. I considered why he'd do that, and a certain proverb came to mind.
どうやら米中尉は彼の戦闘力が気になって仕方ないようですね。しかし杞憂だと思いますよ。私に言わせれば、能ある鷹は何とやらなどというのはざれ言に過ぎない程度の低い話です。
あ、それ私も賛成。だってそもそも爪を隠さないと獲物が取れなくなってる状況自体が半分負けみたいなものじゃない？本当に脳があるやつはむしろ爪をむき出しにするし、その威力を見せつけることで周りに立場ってものを分からせるのよ。そうすりゃ獲物は勝手に献上されてくる。特に国と国なんてそのままじゃない。弱そうにしてたら四方八方からフルボッコにされちゃうわよ。だから力は見せないといけないし、そうすることで可能な交渉も増えてくる。
道理ですね。事実ハイドリヒ教はそのようにしておられる。爪を隠し隙を見つけて一撃必殺などというのはいいとこ初回だけしか通じない。それを人生君のごとく語る手合いは愚かというよりないですよ。
I can kind of understand that. Basically, concealing your abilities was highly limiting and momentary, since it would stop being useful after the first time. It was meaningless in the long term.
下手に目立つと足を引っ張られるし、面倒を押し付けられるっていうのが真理だけどね。でもそれが嫌なら一生こじんまりしてなきゃいけなくなるでしょ。だからそういうやつらは爪を隠してるんじゃなく、自分には爪があると思い込みたいだけの脳なしよ。ずっと底辺にいればいい。
You gonna make them crawl on the ground down to your level and get below you?
爪を見せて引っ張られて、だけど蹴散らし踏み潰してやるって自負がないなら、隠してる意味なんか全然ないわ。
要は奇襲に対する反撃を封じ込められるか否か、大事なのはそこであり、それができるかできないかでしょう。
If you couldn't, you were always the talentless weakling. And if you could have just done the deed without any bullshit.
まあ最初の一撃で何か決定的な戦果を求めているという場合もありますがね。しかしそれなら九段のルートビヒはどうなのでしょう。注意。あなたは彼が我々全員の反撃をしのぎきれるほどだと思いますか？爪を隠して隙を突き、黒煙卓に通打を与えることができたとします。しかしその後、ハイドリヒ教や副首領閣下までをも敵に回して逃げおおせることができるとでも？
まさか。
That was simply impossible, not to mention how ridiculous it was to think that the surprise attack could harm Lord Hydric or Mercurius.
つまりそういうことよ、ベイ。あいつが煙幕を張ってるなら、それは脳なしの証明ね。できもしないことをできるように思いたいだけのカッコつけ。そして煙幕じゃないのなら、最初に私たちが言った通り、単なる焼けっぱちというだけのやつよ。せいぜいあんたに嫌味を言うのが関の山っていう程度のね。
うるせえな。最後の一言は余計だてめえ。
Well, too late, you kinda got it. I still had my doubts about Ludwig, but there was no point in continuing the conversation, so I decided to end the discussion about the shithead.
そんなことより、これ興味本位で聞くんだがよ。お前が今まで見た中で一番ヤバいと感じた色は何なんだ？
Probably Hydrix or Mercurius's action. Wait. This is Mercurius. He might not even have a color.
決まってるでしょ。銀と銀よ。
Ah, yep, never mind, that's right. I was just kind of putting in the mind that because Mercurius is so enigmatic, his color might be shifting almost infinitely. And as for Hydric, that should be pretty much obvious that his would be gold. She didn't even take a moment to think. Balashpina and I instantly understood who those colors belonged to.
これについてはあまり深く聞かないでね。まず言いたくないし、ちゃんと見れてる自信もないから。
さしずめ、先にあなたが言った光の闇というやつですか。
そうね。だからこの2つを例外にした場合。
Malia suddenly looked up at my face. It felt like she was trying to look through my thoughts and see what was beyond.
クラウディアもなかなかすごいわ。あの子は真っ青。
Pure blue.
どこまでもまるで抜けるような空の色。今にも天使が降りてきそうで、正直言うと怖くさえある。
天使だと？バカ言いやがれ。
Her shitty comparison pissed me off, so when I got back to my haunt, I instantly kicked away one of the chairs. Then I realized I fucked up, which made me even more pissed. It was late into the night, Claudia was asleep, and the fact that I considered I might have woken her up irritated me yet again. I mean, come on, why the fuck did that even matter to me? Why was I making such a fuss about whether she was asleep or not? If she complained, all I had to do was tell her to shut up.
光真っ青だと？はっ！
She really was an idiot. The mentality of someone who craved the sun so badly was beyond my comprehension. Even brats who were whining for stuff were more reasonable. What she sought wasn't something you'd give her your life for, and bliss that compensated for death just didn't exist. I thoroughly believed that. It was like a damn conviction to me, so the whole situation seriously pissed me off. I had to let it out somewhere before I snapped.
クソが、なんで俺がこんなことを。なあ、ちくしょう！
That idiot had to pay for making me mad. I walked up to the door and kicked it open, intent on drowning her in vocal rage. But she's deep asleep. But she was such an idiot that she didn't wake despite all the noise I made. Her lack of reaction was so absurd that it made me forget my rage.
アホくさ、しらけるんだよ、てめえはいつも。
At times like this, we just weren't on the same wavelength. It was like she was outdoing me somehow. Overcome by lethargy, I heaved a long sigh and sat on the chair next to Claudia. She was still asleep.
てめえよ、やっぱだいぶおかしいぜ。
I thought I was unaffected by weirdos, and thanks to Helga, I knew full well what demented bitches were like. This woman, however, was insane in an entirely different way.
なんでこう危機感もなく寝れるかね。俺のことを紳士だなんて思ってるわけじゃねえだろ。
I always shouted at her, and even punched and kicked her more than a few times, not to mention the fact that I always told her I'd kill her. Did I make a mistake by repeating myself too often? Was she starting to underestimate me because the words had lost weight and sincerity? That didn't seem unlikely, and because of that, I decided to make it clear I wasn't fucking around. As I said before, I'd already dropped the idea of trying to stir her up through fear. However, I didn't like the fact she wasn't afraid of me at all.
だったらやることは一つだな。
Don't. Wasn't too far off my new course of action anyway. I reached for Claudia's sheets.
いやらしいのはダメです。
She suddenly woke up.
てめえ、たぬき寝入りしてたのかよ。
そりゃあだってあんなに騒いだら私じゃなくても起きますよ。
Fair point.
じゃあなんで寝たふりしてた？
あなたが何か面白いことを言うかもしれないと思ったから。例えばそう、愛してるとか。
死ね。
I hit her head with little reservation. She deserved it for saying stuff that made chills run down my spine.
痛いです。どうして殴るんですか？照れてるんですか？
なんでだよ。
だってさっきあなたはその。
あ なんだ。やってほしいのかお前。
バカ言わないでください。愛のない行為はダメです。
Her face turned flush as she grew visibly upset.
いくら私でもそれくらいはわかるんですからね。もちろん心のこもってない言葉もダメです。適当に私を納得させてさっさと片付けようと思ってるのかもしれませんが、騙されませんからね。手抜きしちゃダメですよ、ビルヘルム。まああなたが力ずくでもするというなら抵抗しても無意味でしょうけど。
She then looked at me with strangely triumphant eyes and giggled through her nose.
お前みたいな貧相なやつに釣られる男がいるわけねえだろうでしたっけ？あの言葉を撤回してもらうことになりますよ。
This is so bizarre.
実は俺はクラウディアにいつもムラムラしていたのだとあなたは認めることになるのです。できますか？できるのならばそれはそれであなたの本気と解釈しないこともなく、
I hit her again. Someone the dumbass was badly misunderstanding the situation. Sure, I did try to rape her, but it had nothing to do with her puppy love fantasies about playing house. Just a matter of pride so that I could show her who the top dog was. Sadly, her stupid shit made me go all limp. Let me just say, not being able to keep it up after something's killing your vibe is one of the sadder parts of being a man.
てめえは本当に甘さんの癖して俗すぎんだよ。何がムラムラだ。言ってて悲しくならねえのか。
なりませんね。後からちょっと恥ずかしくはなりますけど。それにビルヘルム、俗であることはいけませんか？
Her tone as she said that was both soothing and curious. Despite the situation, she was still lying in bed, and it wasn't because she was lazy or anything. Claudia couldn't get up even if she wanted to. The trip to Kachin and back drained most of the energy she had left, which was already limited. She'd been bedridden ever since. Wouldn't have been odd if she never got up again, really. Her death was drawing near, and despite that, she still had that stupid smile on her face.
ちゃんと聞いたことはありませんが、多分あなたの願いは長く生きることなのでしょう。当たり前的な意味ではなく、100年、200年、1000年先まで。あなたはメトシェラになりたいと願っている。違いますか？
メト？なんだそりゃ。
That was a word I'd never heard of before. Claudia formed a wry smile and explained.
メトシェラはノアの祖先。聖書で一番長く生きたとされる方です。転じてその名は長命の代名詞となりました。つまり神がかった息で存在する不滅の人。そんな風に捉えてください。あなたの望みはそれでしょ？
I wasn't able to answer instantly. To this day, still don't know why. For all I knew, I might have been feeling guilty about something, but no, that's impossible.
なんでお前はそう思う？
私に対していつもあなたは怒っているから。人がどういう時に怒りを覚えるか、そう種類豊富なものではないでしょう。否定されたり軽んじられたり、もしくは理解できなかったり。あなたにとって私は全部該当しているんじゃないのかなと考えてみたらそうなりました。
I gave no response, but she continued regardless.
あなたが欲しくて欲しくてたまらないものを私は軽く扱っている。それは侮辱で理解できず、だからあなたは怒っていると。気づいて申し訳なく思いましたが、今はそのことについて謝罪をしたいわけじゃありません。
どうせお前はそうそう変わんねえからな。
ですね。だから今後も怒られながら行くのでしょうけど、メトシェラになりたいピルヘルムは私よりもずっと生きていくはずです。 だったらそのままでいてください。族であること素晴らしいじゃないですか。
He was basically saying that being susceptible to anger, joy, or sadness over the most trivial matters was something to cherish.
私が命を粗末にしているなら、あなたは心を粗末にしていませんか？挑戦と揺るぎなく、何が起きても動じず、騒がず、世の中すべてを俯瞰しながら、悟って冷たく笑うような、あなたにそういうのは似合わない。それは心が死んでいる人の生き方です。
The first people that came to mind upon hearing that were Lord Hydric and Mercurius. I never actually wanted to become like them in that regard, but I couldn't deny that they were prime examples of those who transcended above the rest. So if I were to become like them in 100 years or so, I'd probably have lost all sense of danger. Till Claudia told me those words, I didn't even consider the idea. I can concede that much. She also wasn't wrong that I was mistreating my heart.
私が言っても説得力はないでしょうけど、長生きの秘訣だと思いますよ。いくら体が元気でも気持ちが疲れてしまったらどうにもならない。飽きたとかつまらないとかどうでもいいとか、そんな風に思いながら生きていくのは悲しいです。きっと耐えられる人なんかいないでしょうから。
確かにな。
I nodded in full agreement. Those words came from a woman who was more gluttonous for joy than anyone I knew, and who lived her life seeking newer heights. There was no way I could deny them.
そんなことしか思えなくなったとしたら、俺は自分で自分を殺したくなるだろうよ。
She was effectively heading toward death, but she wasn't actually tired of life. Claudia was just being burned because of her excessive wish for light, her bliss. Though for reasons completely opposed to the usual, she was suicidal to the point of an illness.
気に食わねえ。ああ、気に食わねえや。
Yeah, you're definitely not used to this sort of thing, are you?
That was why I wanted to make her say she didn't want to die, to crush her excessive stupidity. As someone with that as my intention, I wasn't allowed to have the same mental illness as her.
自死衝動か。
That was what I named the concept back then, and I still denounce it to this day. Even if the flesh was undying, the heart and soul weren't. Some would say that it was the other way around, but everything had an antithesis. To avoid becoming suicidal, I had to keep my heart young, and for that I thought it was important to keep seeing value in whatever I found exciting.
珍しくそこそこためになる説法だったぜ。褒めてやるからさっさと寝ろ。
もうあなたのせいで目が覚めたのに何なんですかその言い草は。ただでさえずっと横になってるんだし、眠るにも限界があるんですよ。カーテンも閉まってるから外だって見えないし。
今開けたところで闇しか見えねえよ。そんで日中は論外だ。無駄に命縮める片棒を担ぐ理由がね
I mean, technically you could I mean, if she wants to see the light, you could just kind of peek the curtains open just a little bit, not enough to where the light's on her body, you know?
文句があるなら、さっさと歩けるくらいには回復しやがれ。
はーい。
At that point, the only ones that knew about her state were Samuel and I. I never had any intention of spreading the news, but Claudia herself asked me to keep quiet too. Still, I felt like it wouldn't be long until someone found out. I knew Beatrice would make a huge scene out of it, so if possible, I wanted it to stay a secret.
ヴィルヘルム？
なんだよ、子守歌なら歌わねえぞ。
Oh, come on, but you sung the opening theme.
いえ、そういうのではなく。
You got a good singing voice, bro.
I looked and noticed that she'd formed a cheerful smile.
さっきですね、ちょっと面白い夢を見たんです。
Oh?
夢だ？
How worthless. I had no words. Claudia, however, still had that goofy smile on her face.
夢の中でも私は眠っていたんですが、窓をコンコンって叩く音がしたんです。それから開けてくれ開けてくれ、お見舞いに来たよ、入れてくれって何度も何度も。最初はびっくりしたんですけど、なんだかとっても優しい声で、聞いてるうちに私も調子が良くなってきたものだから。
ん？
入れたのかよ。
はい、そこの窓を開けて、そしたら、ねえ、一体お客様は誰だったと思います？
The flow of the conversation made it hard to assume it was me, and honestly, I wanted no part in her fucking fairy tales. With that in mind, I just shook my head to show how little I cared.
ルイでした。面白いでしょ？
Ah.
どこがだ、ボケ!
I instantly reached my boiling point, roared those words, turned around, and left her room. The moment I slammed the door shut, I saw the curtains on the window gently sway in the wind. That was no dream! Angel and the Rosenkranz. Oh. I think I'm going to leave this. I think I'm going to leave this for the next episode for right now. So, So we got the, well, not really the confrontation, but we got a interaction between Heidrek and Ludwig, who apparently, Ludwig is that very individual that Mercurius was talking to a long time ago, or possibly not, because Claudia did make mention that Methuselah could also just be a term for somebody who has lived for a very long time. Or a godly amount of time, at least. So, whether this Ludwig is the same Methuselah that Mercurius met so long ago, I'm not entirely sure. If it does get revealed later on, then I will wait till the story kind of does that, but don't kind of clarify this in the comments down below, unless it's not explicitly stated. But it's just because Claudia brought up that it could be simply a term for somebody that has lived an exceptionally large amount of time. So, either Ludwig is the same Methuselah that talked to Mercurius, and judging by their actual interaction, I'm pretty sure that very much just confirms it, but I might just be reading too far into what Claudia said. I think I'm probably just reading too much into what Claudia said because of that. That interaction with Mercurius and Ludwig kind of confirmed that it was the same, that Ludwig was the same person that he was talking to in that one scene that we saw. I don't know. I think I'm really just reading too much into what Claudia said. But anyway, I'm going to end it there, so if you all like this, be sure to let me know. It does feel good to kind of be back into the recording thing, but clearly my mind is not 100% there. So, yeah. Again, it feels kind of weird because we're in Wilhelm's perspective, so it's not traditional, protagonist sort of shit. He's a goddamn villain, so though his perception and shit is just, not only is it different, but it's kind of like what the hell is the word? It's kind of like a breath of fresh air. It's something that's just different, and it's kind of refreshing seeing something done differently in this way. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next video.